So I think what I'm going to talk about is digital technologies is social networking, mobile, analytics and cloud, and how we can get affordable excellence at scale. This is important, that when we try to deploy a solution in a country like India, developed economy, if I take a solution from the West and just put it there, it's not going to work because it's too expensive. So it has to be affordable. But then to make it affordable, you cannot just take out features left, right and center and give it to the people in India. They'll not take it because they'll say this is not good enough. So you have to have the excellence, at the same time it has to be affordable. So I'll talk about a few things today. I'll talk about, when we talk about frugal innovation, as I said, that it's affordable but no compromise on quality. I talk about a few things depending on how much time I have. The first one is about maternal and child health. This is how we use mobile technology to change the way maternal and child health is done in India. Then we talk about nutrition for children and adolescent girls. Then I talk about remote monitoring of vital signs. Talk about personalized agricultural advice. Then I talk about empowerment of adolescent girls and blindness prevention. So all of those things are proven to some extent because at least one trial has been done for each one of these technologies, and some of them are more mature, some of them are less mature. So let's so basically we're saying that although the solutions are being developed for developing economies, but some of them, as I'll show you towards the end, some of them might be applicable to developed economies as well. So that's why it's called reverse simulation. So let's look at our IDOC. IDOC stands for Intelligent Doctor, for mobile healthcare platform. This is what we have developed in Accenture. And let's try to understand what the problem is. And as I said, well, understanding the problem is very important. So the challenge is, this is a typical village in India, and this is a city hospital in Bangalore where all the latest and greatest facilities are there. But these villages have nothing at all. So people, even for little things, they have to travel all the way to the city to get the medical help. So this is, and we did some calculations just to see that out of every dollar spent by a villager, 70% is just overhead. 30% is used for real, medical care. Why is overhead? Because he has to travel from a village to a city, that takes money. He has to eat something, that takes money. And finally, he will let go of his day's income because he's not working the field, he's doing something else, and that is also factored in. So essentially, a lot of things is wasted. So this is not a scalable thing. So what you have to do is, probably the healthcare has to go to them as opposed to they coming for healthcare to the city.
Dr. Paul?
Yeah.
How does the overhead translate as a cost to anybody other than the villager? It's the villager's overhead, right?
The villager's overhead. So, at the end of the day, is the requirement using that?
Right.
Like if they were doing their day's work, so they will be generating value. Right? So that is wasted and lost.
Right.
Inefficient in the system. Right? So just to give a sense of how big the problem is, so Indian population 1.2 billion, 350 million are in the villages, which is in the urban areas, which is the population of the United States, and the villages 850 million, which is twice the population of the United States. So these are the people who don't have access to good healthcare. In terms of other numbers, that less than one doctor per 10,000 residents in the village. So it's really, what I'm trying to say is, it's not really a good situation to be in. So government agencies and everybody is trying to take the quality healthcare to the villages. So in simple terms, the problem is simple. I have to take the quality healthcare, take it to the villages in a clever way. So if I pose this problem to someone in US or developed countries, they'll say, well, we know telemedicine. Do telemedicine. Why do you even have to do anything? You set up a telemedicine session, the villager can see the doctor, and all the things can be done. That's the typical answer. Unfortunately, that does not work. Won't work because the connectivity is, most of the places connectivity is not there. And even if the connectivity is there, it's choppy. So you cannot have a sustained telemedicine session between the two sides to get things done. So these are the constraints that severe shortage of doctors, poorly trained paramedical staff, and poor network. So can't rely on traditional telemedicine. So what we did is, well, if that is the case, then why don't we leverage what we call the outreach workers? So these are like a typical outreach worker. She is going and teaching the people in the villages about what are things they should and should not be doing. But look, she is carrying some kind of paper and some books and things like that. There's nothing very interesting about it. And this is limited to whatever is there in the book. Now what we want to do is we take these people, because these are the arms and legs all over the country, and digitally upscale them. So these people, regardless of how good they know only certain things. But if I can use technology to upskill them, give them a lot of more information that they need, that they have, that will probably solve the problem to some extent. So what we're doing is, our approach is to shift the task downstream without compromising on quality. So I'm taking, so here the physicians to nurses to nursing assistants to community health workers, then the level of competence is reducing, the cost is also reducing. So what I'm saying is, if more and more of the work can be done downstream, the cost is going to come down. But that will make it affordable, but we'll lose the excellence part of it. The way I get excellence is by using technology, I empower these people, enhance their skills, and give them the power to do things which they cannot do otherwise. So this is how typically it works. So this is an outreach worker who is collecting all the patient data, and then there's a mobile device on which you collect this information, use the cellular network, go to the back end where the cloud will have all the storage and processing capabilities. From that, the community health worker gets the advice and diagnosis and gives it to the patient. Except in India, what happens is this tower is not there. Tower is not there, all these things don't exist. Then even in this condition, I have to make it work. So that is why what we realized is, again, these devices are becoming very, very powerful. I mean, a device like this, where we are actually implementing the system, and all the things I talk about are actually here. So in this tablet, we have all the things running. So plenty of storage space, plenty of processing power. We said, well, why don't we leverage that? So what we have done is we have put quite a bit of intelligence there, and we use the information to do the processing locally and give the advice to the villagers. But if there's connectivity, then we take full advantage of the connection. We collect all the information, and whenever there's connectivity, sync it up with the backend. So intelligence is pushed to the device with no dependency on the backend cloud servers or internet connectivity. Okay, now, again, as I said, that what we do is, when we go to offer the services, we use edge caching. So I store the relevant information. There's tremendous amount of information available on the network. But this amount of information, nobody can remember in his head. So what we did is we put everything into this device. Only the relevant portions of the information is put in the device. And so you can use the information. And how large are the guidelines? So typically, these are the pages after pages that is available. Just for childhood illnesses is about 30 pages. It's lots and lots of information. And this information is there, nobody uses them. But what we have done is, so again, from technology perspective, is nothing spectacular. What we've done is we've taken relevant things and put it into this device. And then we put some kind of edge intelligence, some processing engine inside, which will be able to do the first level of diagnosis and give them the first level of advice to the villagers. So here the technology is, we use the Android platform because the cost is coming down. So the cost of tablet in India today is less than $100. So it's dropping even more. So when I have a device, then I can, what I put is, we put an expert system onto the device itself called clips. So we took clips, put it into there so that I can do local decision making and things like that on the device itself. And there's some sample code in terms of, like, you have to put a clips rules files into the device, and you have to invoke the rules files to do some of the initial diagnosis on this. So this is how it's in action. So this is how the our interface looks like. Again, the thing is, to make it work, it's a very different experience when you go to the field and look at these people and say, well, I have to make it work. I cannot give a sophisticated system. They have never used it. They have never seen the system like that. So it has to be very simple to use. So it's very pictorial. See that we spent a lot of time in terms of making it useful. And here all things are in English, but the way we've architected the system, we can translate to any language in less than a day. So we have this available in 25 Indian languages. In fact, when we showed it to China, this is where can you do the Cantonese. We have a Cantonese version of this as well. So it's like, the architecture, this is the part of things we have done right, that we architected in such a way that I can go to any language fairly quickly.
Do you know how you go from English to another language so quickly? Like, what is the automated?
So the way we have done is, there are two parts. So one is the basic engine, the other is the strings. So we have separated the two things so well. So now, if I have to translate this, the entire IDOC thing into any language, I just give the Excel sheet. So these are the English strings, give the corresponding strings in your language. So as long as you give the corresponding strings, the underlying infrastructure is so well done that it just interprets the strings and everything just runs smoothly. Nice. So there's a lot of this focus is on trying to make things look much more easy to use and things like. There's no typing involved. This again, other thing. The moment you allow people to type, it's a problem. Now, how do I type in Tamil? How do I type in Bengali? There's so many languages. Typing is a problem. So everything is a selection. So many of these things are user-friendliness, which makes a difference. And we did trial in a hospital in Salem, which is a city in Tamil Nadu, where the 76% pregnancies happen in the rural parts who come to the city to get treated. So what we did was we did the trial. We showed that using a system, significant amount of efficiency is received. At the same time, we can increase the patient handling capacity of the hospital by a factor of 3. In other words, all the 76% pregnancies that come to the villages, if we can push it to the village and do it externally, I can deal with that fairly efficiently. And also, we wanted to make sure that when people use it, it's easy for them to use. So on a scale of 0 to 5, we tried to see that how easy or difficult it is for people to understand, and it was fairly easy to understand. You see that the people use it, these are regular people, like the ANMs and nurses who use our system, and we interviewed them, we tried to see how long it takes for them to use the system. It was fairly easy. Now, where are we with this? After the trial, this is the current state. So, in India, the state called Karnataka. So, Karnataka is one where they're making a lot of mobile services available to its citizens. This is called as Karnataka One. So, you go to a portal, you can access the portal from any device. Doesn't have to be a smartphone. Even for feature phone, you can access it. And you can sign into 100 different services. One of the services here is Maternal Health Advice from Accenture. So just anybody can register and subscribe to a service, and you'll get a reminder. So you get the thing that you have to do, and advice will come to you in the form of SMS, in the form of reminders and things like that. So now, when we look at healthcare, this is a continuum of care. So we talked about just the pregnancy, birth, and postnatal for mother. But if you look at care, it also have to take care of adolescence before pregnancy, and after child is born, infancy and childhood. So all these things have to be taken into consideration in order to make sure that continuum of care is maintained. So this is where there is a significant investment from the government of India in terms of providing the nutrition to the young people, especially children from 0 to 6 years old, and to the adolescent and expectant mothers. And the way it is done, it's a different context. In terms of the way the government does this, in India, there are 7 million villages. 7 million villages in India. Every village has one center. And each center there's one person who is in charge of taking care of the kids, taking care of the adolescent girls. And what they do is government of India gives them the money in terms of food packages and things like that, and they have to distribute the food packages to the right people, make sure the right people get it, and if the right people are getting all these food packages and everything for the last 30 years, India's malnutrition index would have gone up quite a bit, but unfortunately it has not. After 30 years and government spending about $1 billion every year, nothing has happened. So it looks like people are happy, the status quo is alright, until then we say, what is the problem? People say, well, there's no problem. So no problem, but nothing is happening. So to understand the problem, we say, well, one thing we could do is we could have sit in our offices and design a system. Obviously, we could write a paper, but that's not going to help it. To make a big impact, we actually visited these centers and figured out what exactly do they do and find out why the problems are. So I'll tell you, what we found. Okay, so let's start with this. Okay, this is the Anganwadi worker is a government appointed worker at a village in a center, and what she does is she has to do preschool activities for the children. She has to do feeding and nutrition management for children 0 to 6 years old. She has to support pregnant and lactating mothers. And she has to, after doing all of these things, she has to update a large number of registers, like 15 registers. So imagine, you just like you come to work, and again, I would see, say for example, when our children were born, for my wife just to take care of one child, it was like pulling her hair. Now there's 60 children, the one woman taking care of all the 60 children, and then she is taking care of pregnant lactating mothers. She does some preschool activities. After doing all these things, she has to fill out 15 registers to keep track of what she has done through the day. Well, not possible. And when that is not possible, what happens? After she works through the day and she has to fill up the registers, she just puts on random numbers there. But she's tired. She doesn't have 15 registers. It doesn't work. And interesting part is, once you fill out that junk, then somebody will come to aggregate all the junk to create the next level information, finally go to decision makers, and decision maker is making a decision based on that information, which is absolutely useless in any case. Because the starting point is wrong. So this is what happens. So after this lady fills up all her registers, so there's a supervisor. Interesting, supervisor's job is supervise the things that are happening. But what the supervisor is doing? Supervisor coming and aggregating all the junk information that the worker has filled up, and he prepares a report. For one center, he prepares a report every day. So next day, he go to another center, prepare a report. And then there is another level of hierarchy where all these reports will be prepared by somebody, and it will go, and some decision makers will get this after 1 to 2 years. So, and then the decision makers will take a decision based on something which is called absolutely stale. And stale and incorrect. So everyone is happy they're doing their work, papers are filled out, decision makers are bailing out money and every day. Nothing is happening because everything is incorrect. So what we said, for example, what is the problem? The problem is the workers are too tired to update the register, so errors are rampant, either intentional errors or unintentional errors. For example, they have to weigh the height and they have to find the height and weight of the children. Right? They weigh them, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Just fill up something. Right? Who is going to find? Nobody is validating the information. And then they have to plot on a weight height chart to find out if the child is malnourished or whatever. And most of them don't know how to plot. So then whole corporate, they are given all these chart papers, and she is like 8 pass and chart paper, and she has to plot height and weight, and most of the times they don't know. And based on that, they decide if some child is malnourished or not. Doesn't work. Attendance. So attendance, if 10 people are there, they are saying 50 people are there. Why? Because if you say 50, the government granted you promotion to 50. So now 10 people, 40 packets are there, now they can sell up the 40 packets and make money. So these are not huge amount of money, but that money itself is good for them. So their siphon of the thing. And one that happens for one center, imagine multiplying that with 7 million, and suddenly the number the government loses is huge. So there are no validation, at least somebody is collecting the right information or not. So again, I guess the numbers and indicators are coming in lag of 1 to 2 years. Stale reports, no early warnings. If somebody is malnourished, you better know that my child is malnourished. Nobody gets to know that. After the child is sick and almost going to die, then oh my God, my child is malnourished. Ideally, they should know it ahead of time. So all I'm saying is, this is not technology. When I go to the field and say, well, people are doing everything pen and paper. You do pen and paper, you fill up the things, it just stays with you. Nobody gets to know that. So everything that I talk about today, realize that if you digitize, if you start putting things on a tablet, on a simple phone, digitize it, all these problems go away if you do things right. But there's some challenges that we face. Okay, I'll show you some of the challenges that we face. Okay, this is how we do it. We have the application which is running here, and then you collect the information, goes to the while, etc. We have a backend server where we do all the analysis. And so these are the beneficiaries, the children and the mothers. They provide information to Anganwadi worker. Then we do the height and weight and all these things. She gets it. Supplementary packets and drug. She collects all the information. Then you do some kind of rules and guidelines, and based on that you decide somebody is malnourished or not. Automatically done. Goes to the backend cloud. From that, all the upstream agencies get the reports. The monitoring agencies get the report, and finally alerts go to the beneficiary. So you get to know instantly if there's a potential of child getting malnourished or not. Now, interesting, so what was happening previously is she fills out the survey paper, survey register, and then the same thing is replicated, the significant part of replicated in 14 registers. So it's just insane. and then if you update and register, the information not propagating to some other. So you have completely out of sync bogus information. That's not helping anybody. So now with us, it's not a magic. So once you do digitize it, automatically it's posted to the registers. Always things are in sync. Then we do data capture. Again, there were errors in regional representation at the point when we enter it. If you do it by fraud, we detect it and we prevent this kind of errors and fraud. We do fraud checks. Previously, look, she is actually plotting things on the chart paper. Most of the times you cannot do that. It's no magic that once you get it digitized, all the things are done automatically. You know that you can show as red indicates malnourished, green indicates not malnourished. Then TBS record search, now reminders and alerts are automatically generated. Now, this is another interesting thing. Here's what I found. We went to one of the centers in Gujarat, and they had filth in the, behind the school. I said, well, don't you report this kind of problem? She said, no, I don't know how to report it. Even if I tell everybody, nobody does anything about it. Again, I think those are from India who resonate with that. It doesn't matter who you tell it to. Things just don't happen. Nobody does anything. Right? So obviously, it's nothing unusual about it. So what we said, we want a mechanism that the worker should be able to generate a grievance if there's a problem, and all the relevant people should get to know about it. So what we did, and she is not somebody who can expect to type or the problem, no. So what we did is a very simple interface where you can speak. So here we have the system where you can actually speak, there's a problem, you can take a picture, and automatically the system, and it finds out who the relevant stakeholders are, it goes to everybody. Not only that, we use the concept of digital graffiti. So whatever we prepare, the information sticks to that particular center. So if the supervisor actually hovers nearby, the thing will start flashing on his mobile device. So it's not that you can claim that I didn't know about it. Of course you knew about it, because once you went to that area, it showed up on your mobile device. So again, we're using digital graffiti, not so much of developed world experience of walking by a restaurant and know about what are the special dishes there, but we're using it slightly different way. That the moment you pass by, you know what problems exist. Somebody has reported the problem, you solve the problem. Again, it's uses of technology. A lot of things have done here in terms of training has improved. The reports used to take 1 to 2 years. Now we have visualization, and all these technologies have developed so much, so we can do all kinds of fancy stuff with reporting in terms of zooming in, zooming out, superimpose on maps. So if you're a decision maker, you're sitting on your cabin, you can actually go to any particular state of India, zoom in on that, go to the district level, village level, find a particular center level, find out what's wrong, what is the problem. And if you find out who the supervisor is, with the one click you can connect to that person. So it just made it simple. Technology is used to solve the problem. So again, as I said, that it was reactive, then we made it proactive. Alerts are being sent to the parents, and again the problem was data fudging, fraud and inaccuracy. And the problem is like this: you have to plan how many packets of nutrition you should ask for the government. Some people just put random numbers. Right? They actually put for like 50 or 100, and in fact we do simple cross-checking. So well, the attendance is 10, and you cannot say 50. There must be a problem there. So it will catch problems like that. How do we ensure that attendance is recorded accurately? We have a very simple system. When we go to the government, we say, well, we have the list of people, 50 people, and you just have a tick mark. You call this person's name, if he's there, just click. And just you touch, attendance is done. Well, we are very happy that we have a system which keeps track of attendance. Very simple. Just touch, present, not present, no touch. Touch, no touch. That's how you take the attendance. A list of people. Very simple, touch screen. We're told, but the lady who's taking the attendance, she may be doing a fraud. 10 people are there, she puts 50 people, touch. How do you know this is right? So, well, we have to do something about it. So we put face detection. So what we did is, we use something called Chehra, which is actually does a picture. So we do face detection, enroll all the students, and then two things we do. Here I was showing that you're supposed to take a picture of the class. The moment you take a picture, it actually counts the number of people. We do image processing inside and tell you, hey, there are 5 people. You cannot claim 50 because this picture is time-stamped, geo-stamped, so you cannot change it. And with us, just take a picture and tell you how many people are there. And to double check that, we put things like that. That is, you take a picture, and here is a list of attendants. The moment I take a picture, it does the matching and puts a tick there. You have no control on that. So your responsibility is to take pictures of the students coming in, and automatic attendance is done. You cannot fudge it. So this is the type of things you have to do. I not only you don't think about it, but unless you do this, things will not work. Yes.
Could you use, say, a time log of pictures to check malnourishment?
What?
Could you use a time log of pictures to check malnourishment? You know, so for instance, if a student is becoming malnourished,
Yeah.
the picture will start to change, and you'll start to measure like the density of the cheek and stuff like that.
Well, that's interesting. But the way the malnourishment is counted is just in height and weight, and the guidelines from World Health Organization and Indian Association of Pediatrics. So we do all kinds of BMI calculation, the weight versus height, and all kinds of metrics you calculate, and based on that we decide. But yeah, potentially you could do that. Take pictures over a period of time and see the pictures changing. Also, other thing that we realize is the communication is important. If you find something's wrong, you want to share it with people. And these people, I cannot tell them, go use Facebook. They don't even know what Facebook is. So we have to make it easy for them to use. Again, we built something called hierarchical social communication, and it's very easy for them to use in terms of, again, just talk and share. And the interface is simple. You say whether it's a grievance, you have a problem, or it's a best practice that should be shared, and you just touch on that. Or general message, you select, you just say, talk, no writing, and then you say that who are the people that should be knowing about it, the people. Is it about books, or buildings, cylinders, education, food, funds, hygiene, other? Touch it and go, it goes. You don't have to do anything behind the scenes. So everything is done by the system on their behalf. Again, I talked about digital graffiti, that any grievance you generate is attached to a specific location, and it's meant for specific people, and when supervisors are in the vicinity of the center, they get it. Okay. So it's not enough just to ask questions and get things do a diagnosis. You also have to get the physicals, vitals, and so we need a cost-effective way of doing vitals monitoring. So today, what happens is to do cost-effective vital monitoring. Today there's a lot of benefits of vital monitoring because it could predict things very, very well. In terms of even if you are going to have cardiac arrest. If you monitor somebody over a period of time, you say, well, this guy is going to have cardiac arrest. So if you continuously monitor, you can do things, diagnose things which are not possible otherwise. Okay, now, and also if you do continuous surveillance of vital signs after the operations, it brings down the cost of the hospital quite a bit. So this is, I'll show you what we do. How is continuous monitoring of vitals done today? So this is how it's done today. If you want to monitor your vitals, you go to a hospital, you're strapped to a hospital bed, you have those expensive equipment with which you are all wired up, and they do all these things, monitor things, and you can do it only for high-risk patients because it's expensive. You can't do it for everybody. So what we did is we have to do the same thing at a lower cost point. So we did this. We use this device. This is the hospital thing costs $25,000. This costs $1. $1, this is a CE certified, getting FDA certified as well. This comes from a startup. You just put it on your chest. It's just like a digital plaster. You put it on your chest. It does the ECG of your body. It does the heart rate variability. Sends this information through the wireless device, mobile device, and goes to my backend when I do analysis. And the information goes to nurses or doctors or clinicians, where you can see for every patient they can actually see this is a patient. For every patient you see your heart rate, respiratory rate, oxygen content, and all the temperature, all these things are recorded so you can actually see without being physically located there. And these are some of the plots. You can see the ECG, you can see the heart rate, and all these things are available to you. This person does not have to be in the hospital, could be at home watching TV, but you're monitoring that person remotely. And this is possible today. Again, this is not a science experiment. We are actually doing it with hospitals in India, where at these hospitals they're pretty very careful before they deploy things. So we're doing it with some of the hospitals, and again, we reduce cost, but without compromising on the quality.
Dr. Paul, where is all this data stored? Like, in a sense, you're showing the mobile equivalent, but there's a lot of data generated, both physiological as well as in the previous case.
Good question. So essentially what we do today is we store it in the cloud. But when we store it in the cloud, it's more, so our system is agnostic. If some of the hospitals, they say, well, I don't want to store it in the cloud, I want to store it in my premises, or I want to store it in my private cloud. So ours, we can put the information on the private cloud or on the premises, and those who are, they don't really care, then we go to our cloud. Of course, there is security in terms of, may not be the same level of security, but there's quite a bit of security in terms of privacy and other things.
And a second follow-up question. So if you think about the underlying technical, the underlying system over here, it's like an app on the phone in terms of development, and then you have a server backend which is doing some stuff, and then there's some back and forth communication between them.
That's correct.
Have you been able to leverage, I'm pretty sure, have you been able to, use a common set of, maybe components even to go across applications like this, where the only thing that keeps changing is the front end of the app, but the back end logic may change, but the overall system components are roughly the same?
That is exactly how we architected. So, so all the things that the maternal health, nutrition, then we talk about agriculture, so we do blindness prevention, all these things. We're using, only thing that's changing is the front end application.
Exactly.
So that is one of the things that we bring to the table as for the Accenture point of view. Architecture is done in such a way that today, when we started building the first application, it took us 9 months. But today, as we build the application, we start harvesting the common parts. Now we build a platform. You give me any domain, I can build the application in less than a month, and it should be up and running. So that's exactly what it is. Everything is, sort of common. The infrastructure is common. Only the front end is going to change, and maybe the logic that we need is going to change. So this is how it works. The nurse can administer this on a patient. The patient's vitals are going to the cloud, and then the caregiver or nurse or especially duty doctor, they get all the information on the mobile device. Even it goes to the hospital management in terms of the real-time patient-centric operation parameters, and we basically put everything together. The startup business only this and very basic thing, but our job is to put the whole thing together, because there are a lot of things have to be done. You have to design how the front end look like, what the nurse will do, see what the doctor will do, and how the whole system will work, the look and feel, the logic, and everything that has to be done that we do behind the scenes. And we're working with some of the hospitals like this. Okay, this pull back and skip. This is again some of the challenges that the people who have to go in a bike from, if they are the outreach workers, they have to go from one village to about 2-3 villages going around to do the service. Now, how do you track them? How do they know that they are on the right track? They know where they are. So first question is, why can't you use the GPS? The GPS will tell me exactly where we are. But the challenge is, if you use GPS, only 20% of the households have electricity. So that means if I am somebody going on a bicycle or bike and I'm being tracked using GPS, my cell phone battery will die, and then I have nothing to charge with. There's no electricity to charge by this stuff. So I have to make sure that my system that we build is battery safe. Secondly, the coverage is not very clear in terms of only the highways. Once you go to interiors, nothing is there. Signals are not there. So GPS is not an effective way of finding the location of the field coordinators. So what we have done is, we have done something called battery safe location tracker. So again, here I'm showing that you start at 10 o'clock, if you use GPS by 11:30 your thing is drained out. But if you use our system, it starts at 10 o'clock, even at 5:30, there's quite a bit of batteries left. And what we've done is essentially, we have intelligently chose between GPS and the cell tower base location, and we've used some of the time estimators, accelerators, and proximity centers on the mobile device to track in a much more careful way where the battery is not drained out.
So how much battery, in this case, you need a day's battery worth of?
You need a day's battery worth of thing.
Okay.
And
this system is able to
this system can handle.
Okay.
For a day that you go for 2-3 villages, do your job and come back, battery is still there. But if we have seen, if you just use GPS, it runs out very quick.
And do you trade off accuracy over there in terms of location or not?
You see, our philosophy is very simple. You need to track when somebody is going to the village. When in the village, you need to know fine-grained tracking. But on the way, you don't need fine-grained tracking, because you're just going on a road, right? So as long as I have you sent us to get an approximate location, I'm fine. The moment you go closer, at that time you turn on the GPS. And so interesting challenges are, like, you have a small mobile device, you have to find out which village you're in, you have to pull out the villages. And there are million names, you cannot do a drop down on that small screen. looks simple, but just think of this guy. You have a mobile application. He is going on a motorbike, and you want to show that which villages he should be looking at. He cannot do a drop-down menu to find out where it is. There are a million villages. It's not going to work. So what we've done is, we've done something like with our location tracker. It automatically, reduces that to some number of villages based on location tracking. And then he also has a list of villages to visit. So we take that and do our intersection and tell them, hey, you should probably be looking at this. So we use some context together with the location tracking to reduce the number of things that we need to look at. Simple things are very effective. Without that, things will not work. So then we did quite a bit of predictive to prescriptive analytics, and this is where the analytics is very important, because when you do systems, you need to get insights. And insights are, for example, that sometimes you have to take action based on multiple events happening. Multiple events happening with their disjoint events. For example, I'll give an example. That if a grievance from an Anganwadi center, somebody has raised a grievance from a center, and then nutrition packets estimated for the same center are consistently higher than expected. So these look like two completely different things. But if these two things happen, then probably the problem with the supervisor. So this kind of complex logic you have to figure out, and we have to have a mechanism of what is complex event processing, which is very common to do rule-based processing. The other thing that we need to do is, sometimes it's not just an event. You have to say, well, over a period of time, if something has gone down or something has gone up. So what a sliding window, in a week's time, if more than one malnutrition case is reported, then raise an alert. So these kind of things require complex event processing. And there are various tools in the market, and we have to deal with them every time. There's something called rules, WSO tools, so we put all of these things into a system. Because one other thing that, again, we as IT service company are good at is we can do plumbing very well. So we can find out stuff that's necessary, very quickly build systems which can actually deploy it. So some of these things are non-trivial. We do find out the right stuff, put it in, and get the system up and running.
So on that note, Dr. Paul, on integration, right, is like, are you like the secret sauce, right? Is it like people and their experience over a period of time, or /and is it like a set of tools that recognizes, oh, this application has this interface, that application has that interface, we knew about it, we can put it together?
Both of these. For example, the architecture itself has to be done in such a way that it's plug and play. Right. So the way we design the platform is now we can take various components and put them together to fairly quickly build the system. And that is why we plug and play more the interfaces and how they plug in together, and experience to some extent matters as well. Let me talk a little bit about Krishi Connect, which is the agriculture. And again, the thing is, if I go and tell people that I use IT, information technology in agriculture, people say, well, yeah, it can be used, but what do you do with it? The application of the technology is not that important, but what do you do? Why exactly do you use technology? I think that's the important part. And we spend a lot of time figuring out, if I have to use information technology, how do I use it? That's there. And other point is business model. And somebody was asking me, if you are selling something to farmer, why would Accenture be interested in it? Accenture is a large company. We do deals like $100 million, $200 million. So Bank of America, Cigna and large companies, Shell and British Petroleum. Why would Accenture be interested in these farmers? So that's why we also think comes up. How do we come up with a business model that I can tell Accenture guys, business guy, hey, do this. Accenture can make money. How do you come up with this model? So that's what is interesting. So here I don't want to go hard over the statistics, but what is important is in India about 600 odd million people are into agriculture. So if I go back to the title of my talk, if I can change these guys' lives, if I can make them earn 2 or 3 times what they're earning today, I'm done. Because their life is going to change and things are going to dramatically, the whole economy will change. So our objective is to change the lives of those 600 million people who are into farming and agriculture. So I'll show you what we do. So we connect the stakeholders in agriculture business in a profitable way. And now, how do we connect all the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? The farmers, then the people who supply agro inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, large companies like that. Look up one of this company called Monsanto. I was interested in Monsanto. I said, look, since I was never into agriculture, I didn't hear about Monsanto. I mean, Then I look up the market cap of Monsanto. I said, well, you know, market cap of Monsanto is more than the market cap of Accenture. I said, oh my God, that big. So there are, you know, agriculture companies, agri-input companies who are really big. DuPont, Dow, Cargill. So these are multinationals with, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars market cap. So those are the Accenture customers. So if I can show Accenture, hey, you can, you know, get money from those guys, Accenture is interested. So our objective is to see that how we can connect all these pieces together so Accenture can make money. So this is what we do. So what is the problem? The problem is, in very simple terms, the end of the farmers, the guys who are actually growing things, you know, they have been using the traditional way of farming. What the father has done, the forefather has done, they keep doing the same thing. So they use fertilizer, overuse of macro fertilizers, nitrogen, potassium, and all that kind of stuff. They have very limited knowledge of micronutrients. They don't even know what micronutrients are or what their value is. Pest management, when something happens, they'll go and try to say that if you have a disease, then go to the doctor. They don't know if they can do anything proactively. So that's with the farmers. But when you look at the agro R&D, it has like really here people know everything that needs to be known to make the yield maximum. They know exactly what micronutrient to use. They know exactly how to prevent a particular disease. All this knowledge is residing at the R&D centers. But unfortunately, the knowledge is not going where it has to go, the farmers. So we actually try to see, we bridge the two. So can we take the knowledge that exists there and take it to the farmers? Easier said than done, but I'll tell you how we did that. So there are the field assistants. So the people like this, they go and tell the farmers this is how you should grow, and all. But this is like a broadcast. So go and tell all the farmers this is how you should grow your crop. General funda, general knowledge, give it to people. But it does not help end of the day because I'm doing something, sugarcane, somebody is doing brinjal, somebody is doing something else, and they need different things. So it's sort of, and also I might have half an acre, somebody might have 10 acres, different land. My land might be rich in some ingredients, somebody else's land could be rich in something else. So every farmer is individual. So the advice that needs to go to the farmer has to be personalized. And that is what is missing so far. So the field agents are the people who are trying to sell. So these are the people who are deployed by the large agri-input companies, like in a Cargill. So Cargill is a US company. You know, they don't want to go to the villages of India to sell their product. You know, what they'll do, they'll employ people like this. So guys, you know, sell my stuff. So there are people. But this guy who's trying to sell it, he knows nothing about agriculture. So how is he going to sell it? So he tells the farmers to buy something. The farmers are stupid. They'll use it once. If it does not work, they say, guys, you're bullshit. I don't want to buy from you. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's what is happening. So at the end of the day, the farmers don't buy from them. What happens to the Cargill? They can't sell it. That's the problem. So what we did, we said we'll change the game. The way we change the game is again the same philosophy that I want to upskill that regular person with digital technology. So there is an application which is running on this device. And so what happens is first, if the client here is our Accenture client, that's a large agri-input company, let's say Cargill. So they will upload information about which product is applicable when for which crop. So they have, you know, believe it or not, these companies have a list of products like, you know, it runs in hundreds and thousands of different types of products. They have the products and they know exactly where to apply what. They upload all the information into our backend system. Then there's a field assistant. So this is the guy who's actually talking to a large number of farmers. He'll go to a farmer and visit the farmer and take a sample of the farmer's soil. And also find out information about what crop he's planning to grow, you know, how much land he has, all this information collects. The soil sample is sent to soil testing lab. Soil testing lab checks the soil and basically tells what the nutrients are necessary to grow the crop. That information is uploaded into our system. Now, the farmer situation is uploaded through our device into the cloud, and from the cloud comes our personalized advice. For every farmer, what the farmer should be doing when. Because growing a crop is not a simple task. Because it's not that at the beginning you put the fertilizers and then end of 6 months you reap the, reap the produce. No. There are very stringent rules. Every 7 days you do that, 14 days you do that, 3 weeks you do that. This is the amount of dosage. All these things are there, all the details are there. And most of the times this guy doesn't know, the farmer doesn't know it either. So what we are able to do now is because of system, this field agent gets notified that you go to this farmer today and tell him he should be applying this fertilizer. Go to this farmer today, go tell him that he should be using this pesticides. And it's a constant reminder, this constant process of 6 months, continuously. So do I as a field agent know anything? I know nothing. Why I'm getting knowledge from the system is telling me what is to be done. I just blindly follow it and tell the farmer. Now you tell me, why will the farmer listen to me? The farmer will listen to me because the farmer, proof in the pudding, that if the farmer listens to me, I have proved in the ground that their yield is going to go up by 30%. I've proved it. Now, once they see the proof, they listen to you. And again, I know that it will work because I've taken that in a state of the art and given that advice to them. I know exactly what is to be done. Yes?
Just a question. So there is a cost of soil testing and there's a cost. Accenture is getting money either from the client and the client has to somehow get the money from the farmers, or there's some cost of implementing everything, right?
Right.
So in the end, does it mean that the farmer has to pay a little bit more to get the features, or?
Farmer doesn't pay anything at all. In this particular model, farmer doesn't pay.
So the client is saying that I'll provide you with fertilizers and pesticides that will give you better yield.
Right.
So is the client in some way saying, okay, you pay me a bit more so that I can get you better?
No, not at all. So the Cargill's field agent is telling the farmer what is to apply when, right? Farmer is not paying anything at all. Telling the farmer, go buy this thing from the market. In any case, you go buy it from the market and use it as I direct you to do that. So in the process of going and buying that product, you are increasing the sale of the agro-input companies. The micronutrient never sold micronutrient because they didn't even know micronutrients exist. Now they go and order the micronutrient. And that's how the micronutrient products will go up in sale. And why does the farmer do that? Because farmer yield goes up. Right? He loves it. So if the farmer does well, everybody benefits. The farmer doesn't do well, everybody loses in the process. And we make that thing happen for the farmer. And in the process, the agro-input companies, not only that, other problem with the agro-input company, what is the smallholder? So like in the US, a farmer will have 100 acres. In India, a farmer has 1 acre. Somebody has less than 1 acre. Somebody has 1.5 acre. Now, Cargill doesn't know how to sell it to those small guys. Now, what my system does, we aggregate demand across all of them and predict. I can tell Cargill that tomorrow or a month from now, so much product, this product is needed there, so much product needed there. So that is a fantastic piece of information, inventory prediction that we never had before. And again, this is not rocket science. The fact that we build a system like that, we can collect all the information, and this information is gold to them. So as a result of this, eventually the farmer benefits because the yield increases, holistic nutrient and pest management happens. The agrochemical company increases because their farmer coverage increases, sales effectiveness increases, and Accenture benefits because we partner with the agro-input companies. So this is again a business model. Accenture is interested. Why? Because if I go and tell Accenture, hey, you're going to make $10 million from Cargill every year, or you're going to make another $10 million from DuPont. So I create a business opportunity $50 million, $100 million. They love it. Although it's coming, they don't care whether it's coming from India, China, wherever. And as long as they care about the number, I'll give you the number.
So, Dr. Paul, how did you so Cargill is your customer in this case, right? Accenture's customer, like direct customer is Cargill.
Yeah, well, again, I'm using Cargill as an example.
Right.
So I know I'm being recorded. So
right.
to make sure that again, I'm not claiming that I'm using the names. Don't take the names that I use as Accenture clients. I'm using them just as an example of agro-input companies.
Right, agro-input companies.
Yeah.
So now the person who's going out in the field will use this app and eventually convince the end customer,
Right.
who is the farmer.
Right.
Going back to your.
Right.
So now, how did you convince? So because before they deploy this, it
Yeah.
is just pure hypothesis
Correct.
that they shows. How did you convince?
We convince, okay. The convincing takes the way we convince the agro-input companies is we partner with all the agriculture specialists.
Okay.
So agriculture specialists went with us to say that what this guys think makes sense.
I see.
And then you have to get buy-in from one of those relevant guys in the company.
Right.
And that guy becomes a partner.
Right.
Then he says, well, I will fund
Right.
the field agents who will go out and deploy the system and do a job.
Okay.
And if what you're claiming is right, I'm willing to partner with you. And we knew what you're doing is right. And so you see that the type of things we did, in the trial, we gave advice for 33 different types of crops. And the number of farmers that we participated in the trial was 1,600 farmers over a period of time. And very interestingly, soil testing, they don't do soil testing today. Now, with our system, look, the number of soil testing done, it went up to over 1,600. Almost every farmer got their soil tested. So if the farmers are very smart, if they see their benefit, they'll come to you. If they don't see benefit, they'll not come to you. So we are able to convince them. So everybody went up to, they did the soil testing. And also the other thing that happens is, again from those agro-input companies' point of view, they have all the sales agents. They don't know if these guys are doing their job right or not. Now with this system, we can exactly track who's doing what. And in fact, it was interesting. They had about 10 agents. So we found that 2 people are slacking off, not doing anything. Suddenly their management comes and goes, how come you're not doing anything? So, how do you know? So we know. We know the system shows that other people are reaching out to hundreds of people and we have done only 2. So what are we doing? And then suddenly this guy became conscious and started performing. So you see that because of monitoring. Again, in India, what happens? Nobody monitors anymore, no mechanism to monitor. So people don't really care. So now that once they're monitored and they're pushed, then people start doing their job. And what we found was, number of farmer visits per day, the goal was 7, now the 12 happened. Number of farmer registered, we got 1,000, we got 1,600. Task adherence, the task adherence means if I tell somebody to do it, are they doing it? They want to make sure 98% they followed exactly what was told them. And percentage farmers purchasing products went up from goal was 50%, 60%. So we showed a year-on-year increase of 58% for our client. They love it. If I can increase my sale, year-on-year 58%, I'll take it. So now comes the other question. Now this is the other thing I was saying, that current government, just like maternal care. So this is going to be available at the fingertips of any citizen, any farmer. So this Accenture Connected Crop Solution Maternal Health is available. Again, I'll show you the screens that look like. This is a live stream. That is, you can go there, any farmer can dial up Accenture Connected Crop Solution, farmer can register himself. So this is a model where you don't need intermediate, don't need the field agent. I as a farmer could sign up myself. I could register myself. I can view the crop plan. The farmer registers like this, simple registration. After that, he gets a crop plan. He tells exactly, register what crops, onion, grapes, and chrysanthemum. It tells, and you can go to the, INM is nutrient management, and IPM is pest management. You can go, it tells you, hey, the nutrient management plan looks like this. At transplanting, when you're growing it, what you have to do. At 6 weeks after transplanting, you have different options that you can follow. And then I have things like INM plan, all the details of what you do at transplanting, 10 days after transplanting, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, what all things you have to do. All the details are there. IPM is pest management. You get all the details of, before transplantation, seed, pre-emergence, all the things that you have to do. And this is live. So any farmer can sign up and start using the service.
So in these scenarios, how do you close the loop? Is there sensing or farmer self-reporting or something like that to understand how well things work, and if weather or some other broad aggregate factor played a role in you making it useful or not?
Good question. Actually, the question is very good because in the field agent-based system, the feedback loop was complete because this guy goes and visits. So here, we have not really thought through how to close the feedback loop. So this is currently you register, get the information, but good point that maybe we have to close, because in the previous system, when you're a field agent, they collect the information. But here, there's no way of collecting information. You have to close the loop to see if they're
So
benefit.
do you think there's a business model for automatic sensing?
Yeah, there is.
Micro agriculture, that kind of.
There is a business model. I'll just show you something about how we are planning to use drones in this context. Oh, what happened to my...
So by the way, Sanjoy, we have some students now who are working on things closer to this than before.
Okay.
So for example, we have a student who has been working on how to give pedestrians warning about accidents or prevent you from crossing the street at an intersection using your mobile phone. So those kind of things weren't there before.
Yeah, I think that these are interesting because there are, okay, this is sound.
brought to you by Innovations in Emerging Economy, a part of Accenture Technology Labs.
Oh, it's not going to show up there?
Here is the scenario.
Oh.
Agent of Accenture Connected Crop Solution is traveling 40 kilometers to meet 20 smallholder farmers with an objective to provide routine crop advices and to physically capture crop survey details with photographic evidences, mainly to ensure crop health and measure the effectiveness of previous advices. Though it might seem trivial, there are many problems associated with it. First, the 100 acres of land belonging to these farmers may have 50 or more land parcels. With such a rough terrain, it is too challenging for the agent to physically cover crop sections. Even if the agent takes up this daunting task, he would need at least 4 to 5 days, which might not be feasible at all. The area being so far, coming back is not an option as well. Overall, it is a huge manpower loss. Let us now see the same scenario with the introduction of a drone. The agent, before starting the journey, opens the drone software and starts creating a flight plan. The home location of the field is marked by entering in the latitude and the longitude collected previously. Now, the waypoints, or simply the aerial route points, are created and placed in such a way that the entire field can be fully traversed in an optimized manner. To take care of obstructions such as trees, hillocks, etc., and to get the best possible field shots, altitudes, and these waypoints are also adjusted. Once done, the plan is saved to be retrieved later for on-the-ground survey operation. On reaching the field, the agent opens the software again and loads the saved waypoints file onto the drone. After confirming that conditions are fine for a drone flight, the agent finally triggers the takeoff command. The drone starts traversing the field slowly, flying over the specified path and altitude while capturing the field shots at regular, specified intervals. As programmed, the moment the drone comes across a possible infested crop patch, it reduces its speed and lowers the altitude to capture better resolution photographs. Additionally, it alarms the agent with a beep sound, along with a visual flashing signal as well. Notice the altitude drop here. At this point, let us take a pause and have a look at the background operations happening simultaneously. Actually, the installed multispectral camera can detect irrigation problems, soil variations, and even the pest and fungal infestations, which is not apparent at the eye level. This becomes possible as crops with fungal infections reflects less infrared radiation compared to the healthy ones. The captured information at the detected crop patch is sent to ACCS backend in the cloud. Here, after the real-time information processing, the following tasks are triggered. First, the picture, along with the geo-coordinates, is sent to the agent for on-the-spot check. Second, the agent gets the recommendations to be delivered to the farmer. And third, a list of tasks generated to tackle this problem is appended to the existing tasks of the agent. Resuming from the point where we paused, after reporting the infested areas, the agent waits for the drone to land and proceeds to survey the next field. The captured photographic evidences will be used for further analysis and various pattern studies. As we see, ACCS, augmented with drone, not only delivers integrated nutrition and pest management, but it also provides real-time precision agriculture benefits to smallholder farmers. Secondly, it elevates the field agent from an unskilled worker to a real-time, precision agriculture knowledge expert. And third, it increases the reach of field agent by at least 4 to 5 times, enabling him to cover more smallholder farmers efficiently. With so many benefits, ACCS, augmented with drone, proves itself a much suitable model to be adopted for industrial agriculture. Thank you for watching.
So I think that, yeah, so here you see that first we got the basic thing up and running in terms of the field agent application and all that. And then we put the drones, and then do the sensors, you can do precision agriculture even better. So those are the type of extensions that we are looking at. So I think that, these are give you a glimpse of the things that we have done, and there are a few other things. The simple thing, what I do, I know I'm out of time, so I don't want to go into that, but I just want to tell you that a couple of other things that we have done, which are, and here the business model works out in case of a farmer-based system is because okay, what is this? Just to give you a simple calculation, that how much does a farmer pay for this kind of advice? Oh, what is this? Security alert. I don't know. So what I want to show is the reason this works is that the farmer is paying $1 per month. $1 per month. $1 per month. Just in the state of Karnataka, there's 900,000 farmers, and if I take about there are about 9 million farmers. If you take 10% take up is 900,000 farmers. $1 per month translates to $11 million per year. $1 per month is nothing for a farmer because he gets benefits a lot more than that, and that will generate $10 million a year. So these are the things that we did in agriculture, and you see that this is real in the sense that this is actually is happening as we speak. And so again, I don't want to harp on it. We did something called Accenture Adolescent Girl Vulnerability Prevention Solution. So this is where we try to sort of the girls are very vulnerable, adolescent girls, because of they get undermanaged, they're trafficked out, and all this kinds of stuff. And it's a big problem for society. So we have built a system working with an NGO to sort of track these girls, make the system aware that these girls are more vulnerable, so that they can be, actions can be taken. Again, so this is what is a successful transition from childhood to adulthood, a digital tracking solution for adolescents' journey of life. And it's very difficult to visualize. I actually went to a village and saw the people. I said, "My God, this is a real problem." And we did a trial in 2 districts of West Bengal, and objective was to save the girls from child marriage, child pregnancy, trafficking, out of school, child labor. This is very common. And just we did a trial. All the results are very, very good. I don't want to harp on the results, but I want to show you some real changes. This girl was 14-year-old. And she dropped out of class when she was in class 3. And then with our system, during the survey, we realized that there's a problem. We identified some vulnerability issues, tracked this girl down, and finally she got enrolled back in grade 6. We brought her out of school, brought her back, and she is back in the system. There's another girl, she is like 15, her parents attempted to get her married at early age. And with our system came to know that, well, there is a potential of her getting married. We took the systems, we intervened, and now she is enrolled in grade 10, and she also enrolled in some other government scheme for girls like her, and now she has become an advocate of the same solution to other people. So these are things which are actually happening on the ground, and it's not generating any money for Accenture, but you see that it can actually transform society. It's not rocket science in some technology, but you're using technology for doing something to the problem which is not solved. So this is another thing, and the last thing, last maybe a minute or so, we did something called, another thing we're doing with Shankara Eye Hospital. This is for blindness prevention. I didn't know this, that 80% of blindness is preventable if you detect it ahead of time. And in India, 40% of global blindness exists in India. 31.6 million people, 1/10 of the population of the United States is blind out of India. But if you can, sort of detect the problems ahead of time, then it can 80% is preventable. So this is where we provide the quality and timely eye care doorsteps of rural India. So this is where we build this application, which is being used by the community workers for Shankarai Hospital. And so the way it works is you do the household survey, the workers take our application, do the survey of the people, upload the system in the cloud, gives the local advisory in terms of they refer to a camp. When they go to the camp where the doctors actually do eye exam, and from the eye exam then either they refer to a hospital or they are sort of recommended for some additional vitamins or eye checks and all that. And finally the real-time operation reports are there. So essentially what you're saying is you do a screening of the people, send them to the recommended to the camp for eye surgery and all that. And the way the system working today is again, you go do a survey screening and refer the people with visual impairment to the camp, and from the camp, if they require, they send it to the eye hospital. So this is happening, but what we see with our system, we can increase the number of households covered by a factor of 2.5. We can increase the number of households that can be done with our system. We also realize the number of people who drop out, that from you're referred to go to the camp, and you don't come. Why? Most of the times you don't have the reminders. So with our system, with our reminder and tracking and all that, that dropout can be reduced by a factor of 5. Similarly, maximize the camp resource utilization. So today, the patients who come even for people who don't necessarily do not have to examine for operation, they're sent to the campsite. Now we have a decision support system which says, well, you don't need to go to the campsite. So we can do much smarter evaluation. As a result, we can send only relevant people for campsite and nothing else. So with this, these things look simple, but the amount of monetary implications for the Shankarai Hospital is like in the order of hundreds of millions of dollars. It's amazing. So this is where we are working. So essentially, we talked about IDOC, maternal. So we talked about maternal and child health care, talked about nutrition management for children, talked about remote monitoring of vital signs, personalized advice, empowerment of adolescent girls, and blindness prevention. So some of these are things that we are doing. And these are all tried in the field. It's not just the system that we built, tried out in the field, and the results have been very good. Some of them are actually translated to money, that agriculture, and we believe that the maternal care will also translate to money, and some of the other things will eventually translate to money for Accenture. But at the same time, we're doing something which is meaningful. That's all. Any questions?